Greetings. I still love our little intro thing there because seeing that dancing bear always makes me smile before the show starts, which is a good thing. But hope this day finds you healthy, happy, and safe. Of course, you're watching New Thought Media Network. I'm Ken Ludwig, and this is the Vibrant Living Hour. And our special guest today is my dear old friend, Sue Frederick, who I will introduce here in just a second. I'm excited to have Sue on. There's lots of reasons for that, and hopefully we'll get to touch on those as we go through the show. But first, let me tell you who Sue Frederick is. She is a lifelong intuitive and spiritual coach. She's the author of 5 different books. The first one is How I Met Her. I See Your Dream Job was her first book. As a professional career counselor, master numerologist, career intuitive coach, and soon to be ordained Unity minister, she's taught hundreds of workshops for those who seek alignment with their life purpose and their soul's wisdom, and for those who are grieving. In her workshop, she's witnessed the profound healing of slipping into your higher self for guidance and inspiration, and to connect with the other side for healing. Sue believes your pain is meant to fuel your greatest work, and she's a master at illuminating that path for you. Her work has been featured in the New York Times, CNN.com, Real Simple, Yoga Journal, Natural Health, Complete Women magazines, also an ancient radio show called What We're Thinking About back in the around 2009, 2010, and now on the Vibrant Living Hour. Sue, again, it's a thrill to have you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, it's so fun to see you again, my dear friend Ken. How are you?
I'm fabulous. You know,
it's you look fabulous. You look fabulous.
For an old man, I feel pretty good. We talked about that just before the show started, and just to repeat it for the audience, you know, we're living in these interesting times, and one of my favorite expressions of all times is from the Chinese, and it's "May you live in interesting times," and it can be either a blessing or a curse. And as we joked before the show, right now it seems like minute by minute.
Yes, and it's both at the same time.
Right. Flip a coin. Where are you? What are you doing? Is it a blessing or is it a curse?
Right.
So it's, you know, I have something that I have to do here. You know, you get on Facebook in the morning and you check your stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And Facebook has those memories.
Yes.
I have goosebumps right now. I have goosebumps because this is the memory that it gave me this morning, September 9th, 2010.
Oh.
Okay, 11 years ago. This is what it said. This is, of course, now my phone does crazy stuff. Okay, this is what I wrote. On my way to Boulder Bookstore, 11th and Pearl, to join Sue Frederick at a signing for her amazing book, I See Your Dream Job. Yeah. As a certified I See Your Dream Job coach, I am very excited. It's at 7:30. Come and join us. Find out what your purpose really is on this trip through the human experience.
Oh, God, that was such a fun thing, Ken. Remember that night at the Boulder Bookstore?
Oh. I absolutely remember it, but I can't believe Facebook freaking remembered it for
me today. And the funny thing is I saw that memory today, too, and what I thought of was how you and Lisa had like walked down the sidewalk with me and Jean afterwards or something. Like I kind of remember that we all sort of either walked to our cars or kind of hung out, and it was just a wonderful evening, a wonderful night.
Yeah, it was a great night. And you had a bucket load of people there in the bookstore.
And there was a fire burning in Boulder too. So half of the people in Boulder had been evacuated, and we just thought the book signing would be a big fail, but we filled the house. It was amazing. Back in the day.
Yeah. 11 years ago.
Right.
That's just absolutely wild.
Feels like another lifetime, though, I'll tell you.
It's in so many ways it does. In so, you know what? And even Sue, including just this right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You know, you were on my radio show right after the book came out. That was Skype, and it was all audio, and Skype was state of the art.
Oh my God! And Skype was such a pain.
It was a pain in the ass. There's no two ways about it. But it was all we had. You know,
right.
Now Skype looks like to me like tapping it out on a stone tablet with a hammer and chisel.
I agree.
And here we are now with this. It's truly an amazing construct.
It is.
And it does seem like a whole nother life.
Yes, boy.
You know, I want to do this publicly. I did it earlier with you, but happy birthday. I know we're 6 days early, but happy birthday.
Well, I think it's important to be honest about it because I'm turning 70, and I think a lot of our generation right now are turning 70. And man, as you said before, that's a big freaking number, right, Ken?
It's a big ass number. It really is. You know, but it's still, you know what? It's the oldest I've ever been, but I'll never be this young again.
That's right.
You know, so it's and you joked about it earlier, but the real truth in my life, you know my life story. You know about 25 years in drug and alcohol abuse.
Yep.
I know a lot of guys who didn't make it.
Yeah.
To where we are.
Right.
You know? And I'm, you know, you're coming up on it. I'm always 9 months ahead of you.
I know.
And it's funny. I will never forget your birthday because when I studied with you and we were studying numerology, of course, the first birthday we ever used was yours. So it's embedded in my head. I will never forget your birthday.
That's great. Well, you are my brother from another lifetime or a brother from another mother. So, you know.
That's and you're one of those people. And I think this happens when you feel that way about certain people. I think you know that from day one.
Yeah.
You know that from the very first instant, which we have been that way since we first met.
Definitely.
And I think that's the way it happens with everybody you feel that way about. And there's not, that's always I think a pretty select group of people. It certainly is for me.
Yeah.
And
what's interesting is that we've both been growing so much and in different ways. Like I love to connect with somebody and see what's been happening in the last decade, because, you know, when you're a hungry, eager soul trying to learn a lot here, you know, 10 years, you've learned so much. Your life has gone through so much. And that's what turning 70 means to me, is that, wow, when I look back at everything I've learned here in 70 years, you know, and who I was at the beginning of this lifetime, it kind of astounds me. It astounds me that I'm still standing, you know.
I have an old friend who's 75. And he was my favorite bartender at the bar I hung out in on Long Island before I moved to Colorado. His name is Tommy. And Tommy and I, we talk probably twice a year. We reconnected after like 40 years, and we talk like twice a year, and have for the last decade, I guess. And we always kind of start the conversation with, "I'm just checking in to make sure you're still upright."
Yeah,
that's got to get to that place, right?
No, I know.
I'm still standing. I'm still here. Remember the movie Papillon?
Oh, of course, yeah.
The last thing he screams before the end of the movie is he's on the inner tube floating away from the rocks, and he screams, "Hey, you bastards! I'm still here." Here we are.
That's right.
Here we are. We're still doing it. And you're right about the learning thing. You kind of I almost feel a little self-conscious, and when I think in terms of with age comes wisdom, and I think to myself, really, what, you know, am I really filled with wisdom here? But the truth is, you know, you gain a certain modicum of wisdom just for being here. You can't not. And if you spend time like you have, like I have, like so many people that we know have, working on you, trying to become the next highest vision of who you came here to be, you do gain some wisdom, don't you?
Well, the other thing I think is, and this is something we used to talk about in numerology too, is that we all have these soul missions we've come to accomplish. And that's what all my work is based on. And the thing that numerology shows you is that you're going to have reinvention points. They're unavoidable, you know, and numerology even lays out where they are. And, you know, you and I have been through a number of those. And I can tell you, you know, Ken is my friend. My last 9 year was the year my husband, Gene, was diagnosed with cancer, and we had to sell our Boulder home and move to Arizona. I mean, talk about a reinvention, right? And we were both in our late 60s, and we really didn't know if Gene was going to live, because he got terrible diagnosis from every doctor except the doctor down here at Mayo. And we got through that reinvention, and here we are now, and Gene is doing awesome. You know,
that's fabulous.
It's a miracle. It really is. And our new life here in Arizona, I've met the most amazing people. Like, I never would have foreseen this. I never would have foreseen leaving Colorado, but life just takes you on a journey. And if you just keep saying yes and bringing your heart to it, you really grow, you really learn, and you evolve to become truly who you came here to be.
It's one of the things that I've focused on quite a bit. I just read a book here in the last 6 months called Growing Bolder. And it was a
Mm,
book that I had started reading a long time ago and just never finished. And because I'm one of these people who has like bookmarks in 6 or 7 books at once,
me too.
and I'll be reading a little bit from each one, and then one of them will get my attention, and the rest of them get put aside. And that's what happened with Growing Bolder. And then I just finished it, and it really is a direct result of this show. But one of the things that really struck me among many was, as we get older, it gets so much easier to say no because we're
Mm,
comfortable. We do what we do. We retire to the couch, to the remote. We do it. We retire to our computer, to our Facebook, to whatever it is, to a book, whatever we retire to. And it's really imperative to continue to grow and blossom as we age and learn to say yes.
yeah,
And that was a big yes you guys did. Just
boy.
I mean, there's no way in God's green earth I ever saw you and Gene leaving Boulder. I just
Whoa, me neither.
that just wasn't on the radar.
And, the thing about what you said is really important because, I think you're right. I think aging, if people say they're really declining in their age, I think part of it is because they are comfortable. They're saying no to new opportunities. They're just sort of stuck in their old beliefs and they're not growing and learning. Um, Metaphysically, I have to say that I agreed to a lifetime where that's not even an option for me most of the time. Like the move down here felt like, okay, do you want Gene to live? Move to Arizona. And so you just say yes. And yet I look back at those choices and say, well, that's what I agreed to because I never wanted to stop learning because I feel like once we stop stretching and learning and growing, why are we still here, really? And so even becoming, I think I told you 4 years ago, I started studying unity ministerial studies to become a unity minister. So in my old age, I am in classes, in internship, becoming a unity minister, and I'm probably the world's oldest intern. But I'm learning so much and growing so much, and my work with clients has changed and shifted, and it's even more meaningful to me than ever as I approach 70. I mean, I'm so honored by that, and my work is mostly now, not completely, but most of my clients are grieving moms, and I love them. I adore them. And we have the most profound sessions, and their departed children come through and teach us things and enlighten us. And I'm just the witness, and it is the greatest thing to witness. So who knew, right?
Wow. Yeah, that's two things. First of all, that's very special work. That's work that my beloved Lisa is tuned into the grief thing. I am
Mhm,
decidedly not on
mhm.
a couple of different levels. The first level is the fact that I experience grief at a
Right.
in a bizarre way. It happens, it's done, I'm over it, I'm through it. And so consequently, I don't know that I'm the greatest empathetic heart for somebody who needs maybe that support that you would give,
Mhm.
that I know you give. And the other thing is,
Ken, I don't think you should say those words to the universe because grief Grief is our greatest teacher. Grief is our spiritual heartbreak teacher. In other words, grief breaks us open to help us understand that we're here to love one another, to be compassionate, to be kind. And, for example, if Lisa died tomorrow, you would be absolutely heartbroken. And
totally devastated.
don't
Yes.
kid yourself about that. You
That's
know?
it's a great point. It's a great point, and you're 100% right. And let me rephrase it. I have not as yet experienced the amount of grief that people experience when someone crosses over.
Right.
The most grief I ever had in my life, this is a weird one. The 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 saddest I ever was on the passing of any being was our last dog.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. And a lot of people do feel that their most profound grief has been around beloved pets. And, a pet is a soul. I totally get it. And, so here's the thing for you to think about is maybe you decided before this lifetime began that you had been really heartbroken and grief-stricken in other lifetimes, and it had stopped you, and you hadn't been happy with what you'd done or not done. And so you said, let me get a good start in this other lifetime and learn to be strong here and learn to be grounded and funny and logical. And hopefully I can learn the same lessons that I am supposed to learn through grief, and that you're doing it that way instead.
No, okay, so having known you all these years, and particularly in the years that we were originally connected in the beginning, I'm just absolutely going to have faith in what you just said, because I know in my life, everything you ever said to me about my life was hitting the nail squarely on the head. And I don't know if you remember this, but in the initial radio show that we did, I said out loud to you on the air, Sue, I know there's a law somewhere about making the host cry on his own show. I don't know what the law is, but I know it has to exist, because you had me all teary-eyed about just knowing me, knowing who I am. And again, I think that's part of the connection that we have between us. Although I know you are intuitively, you're connected to everybody. But I know our connection is such that you've just been able to always read me like a freaking book.
Yeah, I can cut through your bull pretty easily, Mr. Ludwig.
All right. There you go. Okay. And we'll just leave it at that, folks.
Yeah.
That's how that one works. But not to make too much light of it, the work that you do, I think in some ways, when I think about it, talking to you, and I haven't thought about this before, I think in some ways I support people in their grief just differently.
Yeah.
Alternatively.
Yeah.
But I know without question from the people that I've dealt with in my life who were really experiencing deep grief, how important your work is, how important it is to just have people look at that in the face from whatever emotional perspective it is, and then work from there.
And also the reason I love my grieving mom so much is that when a child crosses over, they are not going to be hesitant at all about coming back to comfort their mom or their dad. And so they're going to give huge signs and amazing dreams, and they're going to show up in person in the bedroom at night. And so that's one of the gifts of grief, is that suddenly you are quite sure that there is more to this life than just the physical world, because your kid is showing up and talking to you and trying to cheer you up and get you to stop crying and get out of bed and go on with your life. And you have to make a decision. You have to say, hey, either I'm losing my mind, or this stuff is real, and a spirit never dies. And when they cross over, they try to comfort us. And suddenly you have a completely new idea of what this universe is and what it's all about. And that's the gift of grief.
There you go. That's wow. In a nutshell, in a paragraph. That's what that is. And it's just, and I see that in people, particularly where children have passed.
Yes.
That is. I can't imagine anything harder that a parent will ever experience in their lives than the loss of a child.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to me there's a line, and I don't know what the line is. I'm sure it's different for every person, but there's a difference between when the child is an adult and when it's a child. But it's still always going to be their baby boy or their baby girl, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
But it's crushing to so many people. And if they don't have the tools or seek out a Sue Frederick or you're like, they're going to suffer, and they're just going to be kind of lost. And if they do experience the reappearance, if you will, in otherworldly form, they're going to think they're losing their mind.
They will, and they'll try to block it out. And many of them told me when it first started happening, their doctor prescribed medication and told them, here, take this. Yeah, take this drug so that you'll stop hallucinating. And these poor moms like took the drug and went to bed for 6 months, and then they wake up and they still haven't grieved and they haven't felt it. And, in grief, we have to do these two things. We have to be human, feel the pain, and that's something the medical world is terrified of. Like a psychiatrist would much rather medicate you than have you cry, So, but you've got to cry. You have to cry your flipping eyes out every day, maybe every day for the rest of your life. But that's part of feeling it and releasing it. So you got to be human and do that. But you've also got to be connected to your divinity, your higher self, and say, is there another meaning to this? Is there another purpose to this? Is there another way to look at this? Is this changing my understanding of reality? Because if it is, I am open to the lesson. And the moms get their hearts broken open so wide in grief that they have no resistance to the lesson. And I've had moms come to me who have a PhD, who have an MD behind their name, very well educated, very logical, practical, successful women. And the day their child, even their 20-something kid, crosses over, that kid is coming back and yelling in their ear, calling them from another room, coming to them in dreams, and giving them the most amazing messages and signs. And so they're like, whoa, if I didn't believe in anything beyond the physical, now I know better. And they also know that their own spiritual traditions sometimes may not work for them anymore. Especially, I work with many, many moms whose children chose to exit their lifetime early. We don't like to say suicide. It's a choice to end your life early, this lifetime. And those poor moms may have been Catholic or fundamentalist Christian, and suddenly they're ousted and shunned from their spiritual community. And that is so wrong. I can't even tell you. Yeah. And yet those kids
on every level.
And those kids come through saying, I just needed to check out and hit the reset. I couldn't go any further in that heavy, dense earth realm because I'm a highly evolved, sensitive soul. And when you look at it that way and let those moms heal from all of those wounds of guilt and judgment and all that stuff, it's just profound.
Yeah, boy, totally get that one. I get the one with the young people checking out early.
Yeah.
Because I've experienced a couple of those through my spiritual community.
Yes.
A couple of kids that I taught in my spiritual community that checked out, that were, and there are no explanations. That it's almost like it's so many things like addiction, like alcoholism. Yes. There's no intellectualizing this. It just is. It's an experience, and their experience is that they were done.
It's an experience that the soul chooses to learn what it needs to learn and to stay as long as the soul can stay. And many times these highly evolved, sensitive kids, and I know many moms in Boulder who lost their 20-something kids to either overdose or suicide. Yeah. They all tell me how different and sensitive and unusual and gifted their children were, and they never fit in the box here. And so I believe they never intended to stay long. They had a brief journey here, and they helped a lot of people to wake up by their early exit, because all those people who loved them and were devastated are now open to trying to understand where they are and what life is really about.
Yeah, that's really well explained. And I've had both experiences with both the kids checking out early and the kids who overdosed. And you're 100% right. My experience is exactly the same, that the parents always talk about what a sensitive child they were, how different they were. There was one young man, I'll never forget this as long as I live. He went missing just before Lisa and I went to an event in Sedona, actually. And we got a phone call. We were having lunch. And we got a phone call from the person who that we worked with in the youth ministry at our spiritual community to say they had found this young man. And he decided that hanging was his way to go, which is a horrible way to find a 15.
Right.
But Lisa, my beloved Lisa, again, the sensitive one of the two of us for sure. This kid was one of those people, when you walked into the room, Sue, you felt like you were the only person in his world.
Oh,
He
yeah.
made everybody feel like they were welcome. He had a smile on his face all the time.
Yeah.
And the only person I knew in the world who said there's something not quite right going on behind that smile was my beloved.
Oh, Lisa.
I never noticed. And of course, she was right. I want to do a quick thing. I got two people here, Anna and Charmaine. Thank you for joining us. Two friends of mine from business that are here with us. And I just wanted to say hi to them. Anybody else who's there, please feel free to just make a comment, say hi, let us know that you're watching. So yeah, that whole thing is, again, part of your important work. And not to go too far afield, but to change the subject a little bit here, to go back to the second thing I wanted to mention that you said earlier, that you're the oldest intern in the Unity School of Ministry.
Yeah.
I have found that there are an extraordinary number of people who are baby boomers who are doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Becoming practitioners in my spiritual community.
Right.
Becoming Unity and all kinds of new thought, science of mind ministers.
Right.
In the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And some of them, I know two in particular, who are serious, god-awful cancer survivors who survived their cancer. And one of them was in ministerial school while she was going through treatment. The other one became a minister after she survived. And one of them is only in her 60s. The other one is older than us. She's well into her 70s. Been a minister probably for 5 or 6 years. And I just find that that's part of that whole, I've been alive for 65, 70 years, and there's more for me to do, and some of that might be giving back in a way. Is that in any way, shape, or form part of your motivation?
So I think part of it is that, and I think the other part is that this is a time in human evolution when consciousness has accelerated so intensely. And so if we go back to maybe 2016, 2015, when suddenly the world began to go a little crazy, and since then it has kind of accelerated, I think a lot of very aware spiritual people felt and feel, I need to take a stand for love. I need to take a stand for light. Whatever I've been doing, I've been kind of doing ministry for 20 years since my first book came out. But when I felt the world shifting more towards anger and hatred and all the things that have been happening here, I felt like I got to take a stand. And in the younger days, I'd go out and march against things. But now what feels right to me is to stand for love and a higher loving God consciousness and bring that light energy into this world, because we're kind of at a tipping point for, love versus judgment happening here. And I want to be on the side of love and compassion, and becoming a minister is very much about that for me.
That's very cool. Charmaine, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying this. My friend Charmaine says, thank you, Sue. She's enjoying what we're talking about. So the just a note, a personal note on what you just talked about. I have had in the last 2 weeks, I've had 2 incidences driving, which is my biggest challenge in the whole world. Okay, because there's just so few people out there who are as skilled as driving as I am.
Oh, stop it. You sound just like my husband, Gene. I always tell Gene, and this applies to you, Ken, if you guys could drive through traffic and love everybody, you would instantly reach enlightenment, and you'd be ejected out into the divine realms.
Okay, so I have made some concessions. I don't flip anybody off anymore. I do this. I give them the okie dokie sign. That means I know you're a jerk, but I'm not going to flip you off. Okay? Just so you know, God. I know you're a jerk.
I think we need to start a ministry school for drivers.
True.
The ministry of driving.
But I've had 2 incidences where, and I was, I really, the first one, I wasn't doing anything, that there were just, I don't know what this person was doing in front of me, and I got a little annoyed with them, but I was just kind of driving. The second one was an incident where the other person literally did not know a flow of traffic thing that I kind of got into my lane as he was getting into his, and he thought he kind of had the right to go all the way across my lane and started beeping at me and screaming at me. Well, both of these guys followed me.
Ooh.
And that's the first time in my lifetime that people have gotten that angry over a driving incident that they followed me. And it really is a time where there's fear, obviously, but the love versus anger thing is so in our faces right now. And it's really a challenge. I know it's a bigger challenge for me than it is for you, Sunshine, but
well, let me to give you a different way to look at this. What if your soul is being asked, and Gene, I'm including my husband Gene along with you.
Gene's not even here to defend himself. Jesus.
Yeah, I know. And Gene says the same. Gene says, I'm a better driver than anybody. Why can't these people drive? I just want you guys to know that perhaps the lesson is that driver who cut you off just lost their son. And that driver is on the verge of maybe even taking their own life. They are so devastated. And all they were doing was begging you for love, no matter how they behaved. And maybe if you had just slowed down, sent them some love from your heart, and forgiven them with compassion and let them move on, you would have arrived at your destination at the right time still, and you would have somehow made them feel better.
And you're only 100% right, and there's absolutely zero arguing with that point, and that's and literally, you just reiterated an old point from a different perspective, and you're 100% right, and it is. Marianne Williamson said a long time ago, everything that happens in this world is either an expression of love or a call to love.
Yes, a call to love, absolutely.
And really, that to me is those incidences are a call to love. They're the biggest challenge in my life. Maybe Gene and I should start a support group.
I agree.
They're the biggest challenge in my life because I really do get pissed off.
Yeah. Well, Gene has high blood pressure now. So he's getting a little message from his body. Like he can't be driving in the car getting so upset because his blood pressure will go up. And when I was like, thank you, God, the body always steps in to magnify the lesson that you're going through. So you just can't miss it. So, I mean, think of it that really, if you can drive through horrible traffic with horrible drivers, just trusting that all is well, everybody needs love, and that you're going to get where you need to go. And all you got to worry about is simply being safe and keeping other people safe. Suddenly, it's just a whole different journey, even when you're late for a meeting.
And you, as you said, you never, ever, ever know what the other person's going through.
Right.
You never know.
Right.
And thank you for bringing that out, because it really is. It's an important point. There's so much tension in the world, and it seems to bubble up in instances where we're all in the same environment. We're all driving. The insane amount of anger and fighting and attacking flight attendants on airplanes.
I know.
Wow.
Well,
that never ever before happened in my lifetime. I don't ever remember ever hearing those stories. Now you hear 3, 4, or 5 a week.
And not only that, but, people are fighting in grocery stores over mask wearing and stuff. So the way we have to pull back from all this is we've got to say that if we can't understand that everybody is hurting, everybody has a pain story, and that even if they're acting like somebody that we would just like to kill, if we could sit down and say, pause to the universe and go, tell me your story, baby. What's going on in your life? They would tell us something that would break our hearts that they were going through. And we would suddenly be able to send them so much compassion and so much love. And we would be the last person to get mad at them in traffic. That is the truth.
And that's, and that's the truth I am going to repeat over and over again in my head. By the way, my other friend, Anna, who's watching us as well, she said thank you to you Also. You're bringing out great messages. It's one of the reasons I was thrilled to just kind of risk just you and I having a conversation as opposed to having talking points. Because I just, once again, you taught me I have intuition. Intuitively, I thought, you know what? This is just going to be a great conversation, and Sue's going to have great things to talk about.
Ken, I remember a line you said in our first interview way back in 2009. My book, I See Your Dream Job, had just come out, and it says, a career intuitive shows you what you came to Earth to do. That's the subtitle. And you said, a career intuitive. You said, I never thought career ever could be put next to the word intuition. I didn't know those words went together.
I'm sure I said that.
And I instantly called you on that. And I said, you are an 11 master soul in numerology. You have so much intuition, and it's the only reason you're still standing. Own it.
And so if you recall, okay, so let's give people a little background here. Sue was going to come on my show in 2009. She had written this book, I See Your Dream Job. Okay. And I love that with StreamYard, you can actually read it. It's not like where it's backwards. That's a good thing about StreamYard.
Great. Yeah.
But she'd written this book, and I was going to have her on my show, and I was a complete non-believer.
Right.
There was no such thing as an intuitive. There were no such thing as people who could talk to people on the other side. That didn't exist. It was all BS. Right. That was my attitude. And I remember telling Sue, first thing, you know, in my world, the word intuition only went with the word woman.
Oh, right.
Woman's intuition, because there was no such thing as men's intuition. We don't have intuition. Right. But I told Sue that if she was going to be on my show, she was going to have to spend an hour with me as her client on the phone and treat me like a client and convince me that she was not the opinion that I had, that she was not someone who's full of crap and just selling books.
Right.
And we spent an hour on the phone, folks, and I want to tell you this is the God's honest truth. We started talking about me and my life, and this lady hit every freaking nail of my life squarely on the head and blew me away, and in 1 hour made me a believer, made me understand. She was probably the biggest lesson I had in consciousness of all the 20 years of metaphysical study that I've done, becoming a practitioner, becoming a minister, all of those things. I probably learned more in that 1 hour about consciousness, that there is only one consciousness. It is never ending. It is ever expanding. And we all experience it to the degree we become aware and conscious of it. But Sue taught me that.
You are so sweet. That is a really sweet thing. You see, that confirms that you and I are definitely brother and sister from another lifetime, because I think we had an agreement that when we met each other late in life, I would help delete some of your cynicism. But I had to wait till you were older.
And some of the New Yorker out of me, or what?
Yeah, and life had beaten you up a little bit, so you'd be open to it.
That's so funny. Well, the first thing I had to do was get sober. I mean, you weren't going to get anywhere with me during the 25 years of cocaine and vodka. That wasn't going to happen.
Right.
But it is, to me, I think it's one of the most important lessons that we can learn as human beings is to, if you're not willing to make the effort to find someone who will teach you how to access your intuition, which is what you did for me, then to at least take the time to sit and be with yourself, meditation, and just understand that the voice of God, or whatever you want to call that overarching creative intelligence, the voice of God is in the silence.
Yes.
And you have to be in the silence in order to get that guidance. This is long after you and I had our last conversation. When I was doing the Red Door, which was a thing we called
I remember.
Spiritual entertainment is what it was. And I gave a 10 or 15 minute message at every one, and it was always extemporaneous. And one night, I became conscious of the fact you and I coming from the Judeo-Christian background, we get the idea that lots and lots of people have a lot of freaking baggage with the word God. Yeah. God is this big, bearded white guy in the cloud. Right. He's always pissed off, and he always seems to be particularly pissed off at me. And I went to bed one night, and as I closed my eyes, I'm sorry, no, just meditation in the morning. As I closed my eyes to meditate, I just had the intention, I would love to just once come up with something other than the word God to express it in a way that people went, ah, that's good. And I
Right.
came up with an acronym that came to me literally, Sue, in like that instantaneously. Closed my
Mhm.
eyes and I got GOD, Guidance on Demand.
Oh, God, that's so cool. That is so cool.
If you get quiet,
Yeah,
that's your intuition, is your guidance on demand. It is
right.
the voice of God within each and every one of us. And I'm here interviewing you. In the meantime, I'm ranting. But
But let me tell you let me validate that, because in the 70s, I learned TM, and I think you did too, Ken. Weren't you a TM?
1978.
There we are. See, brother and sister again. So I learned TM, but I was a devoted follower of transcendental meditation. I mean, I never missed twice a day, 20 minutes each time. And that brought me through so much grief in my 30s, so much heartbreak. And then I met a Hindu teacher in my late 30s, and he kicked my meditation up to another notch with another mantra and more sitting in the quiet. I would go to my ashram and do a 3-day silent meditation retreat where you couldn't even speak when you'd go to the dining hall between sessions, nobody could speak. It was silent. Once you go inward like that for that long a time, it resets your consciousness, because it allows you to hear that constant inner divine guidance that's always flowing to all of us. And the only thing that ever blocks it is our crazy mental chatter. And I believe that being in the silence, especially using mantra, sacred mantra, helps you quiet that crazy monkey mind that we all have. That is the only thing blocking our intuition. It's the only thing blocking our love. It's the only thing keeping us from living a purely open-hearted, loving life. So let's meditate, people.
Meditate. I've said a million times in my life, if you want to solve all of the world's ills, teach every kindergarten kid to meditate, and we would live in a peaceful world tomorrow afternoon.
Well, they've done studies, because where they teach TM in Iowa, they have schools where kids meditate in school, sit in the silence every morning. And I raised my daughter that way for sure. And, that teaches kids early on, hey, if this world out here is making me crazy, I can sit and I can connect to a source that makes me feel quiet and peaceful and loved. And then I can get up and go about my day. Man, that's what kids need. That's what we all need.
And people need to understand that you can do that at any moment, at any given time, because that voice, the voice of God, the voice of the divine, the voice of your intuition never shuts up.
Right.
You just have to be quiet enough to hear it.
Right.
That's the still small voice, to get biblical about it. That's the still small voice.
Yes.
I interviewed a guy years ago on my show, and I can't remember his name. I always know his name, and I just forgot it. He lives in Vancouver, and he actually had coffee with me in Golden once years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do the abbreviated story. His daughter came home from kindergarten. His daughter's got to be 35 by now, but she came home from kindergarten one day and said, "I don't want to go back there. There's nothing there for me." And he was like, "Wow!" And he from that started a self-directed school.
Oh.
The school was so successful that actually the public school system of Vancouver, British Columbia, pays for the school, a private school, because it's so successful. Kids do everything at their own pace, at their own level. What we fail to understand, particularly in this country, is that children are learning machines.
I know.
Just give them the opportunity to learn. But the biggest piece of the whole story was, and he had every age group in there from up to high school, and every single child in that school, everyone, no exceptions, meditated, and every one of them meditated by choice.
Yes.
No one directed them to do it. They chose to do it.
What a different world it would be if that's what our school system looked like today. And, I was a Montessori teacher in my early 20s and the early 70s. And Marie, I don't know if you knew that, but Maria Montessori taught way back then that she was actually lived in Italy, more than a century ago, and she observed children. She was a medical trained doctor. She observed children because she was supposed to be treating them for mental disorders, and she would just watch them play and do things, and she understood that children have absorbent minds. They are hungry for all information. And if you put them in an environment, there's some reading materials over here where you can teach yourself how to sound out letters. And over here, there's some spindles where you can practice counting. And over here, there's something else that kids will spend their day just going from one learning station to another, whatever draws them. And they will be hungry to learn. And I love that method. And that method has never really gained wide scale acceptance, especially in elementary school and high school, and especially when the whole leave no kid behind thing came out and then everything was standardized test. It really put all that aside. But if we could trust that we all have a consciousness, no matter how old we are, and we're all driven by our intuition and our heart and our inner knowingness, and if we could just let people blossom according to their own inner needs and wisdom and gifts, that people would be so much more successful and happy. It's just, it kind of breaks my heart that we were teaching that back in the 70s. And now I look at the world and it's kind of worse than it was back then, And so, if you want to know why I'm becoming a unity minister, it's because this world has, kind of disappointed me. And so I felt like, I can't just complain about it. I got to do something. I got to stand up for the light. And so here I am.
and doing a hell of a job, I might add. And it's I think what you're saying, I think, is important. It's important for everybody. A couple of famous expressions that come to mind. David Crosby famously said that in the 60s, we had everything right with one exception, the drugs.
Right.
And I'm not so sure I totally agree with him there because the drugs were a good time. I had a good time. But the other one was Marianne, once again, at a lecture she gave at Mile High Church here in Denver. She said, without question, our generation has just perpetuated all the screw ups and made them worse.
Yeah.
But she said, we ain't done yet.
Right.
And we don't, just because we're 65 and said, well, actually, there's not too many 65-year-olds. We're pretty much all going to be 68 and 70 and 75 that are baby boomers.
Mm-hmm.
But we really, truly are not done yet.
Yeah.
We've got things to do. You're becoming a minister as part of it. I'm in the process of letting go of my practitioner status with my spiritual community because I'm going to re-embrace my ministerial status with the International Metaphysical Ministry, which I earned back in the 90s.
Wow. I didn't even know about that.
I've been an ordained minister since 95.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah. But I'm going to re-embrace that. And by the way, I want you just for the hell of it. Here's my friend Charmaine just said, amazing. Then she said, guidance on demand. Wow. Anna said, I love Montessori. Charmaine said, you're incredible, Sue. Thank you for sharing. And it's, I'm so glad that and both of these ladies are people that I've known for less than a year. And actually I love both of them. They're very good friends, but it's really cool to introduce them to you, to have them listen to you. And we haven't been like this in over a decade. Right. And Susie, we haven't missed a freaking beat.
I know. Well, that's the beauty of past
blows me away.
Connections.
I'm blown away. I'm totally blown away. I had no idea. I really had no idea. But it's like it's talking to you now on the show. It's like we talked yesterday afternoon on the phone or something.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild. Charmaine, I love you too, sweetie. It's just a thrill to have you on here listening to us today or watching us today. It's really very cool. I got, I want to do some things here. This is especially for you folks that are watching. Sue has written 5 books. I held up the one. This is the one that introduced me to Sue. This is I See Your Dream Job. She wrote this in 2009. She's written 4 books since. They are on. And you know what? And I have the names here. The books are Bridges to Heaven, which is true stories of loved ones on the other side. I See Your Soulmate, which is just kind of like I See Your Dream Job, only talking about your mate.
Mhm.
I See Your Dream Job, which I mentioned. Your Divine Lens, which is also a just kind of a metaphysical and spiritual book, and Water Oak, which is kind of, is that more of a memoir kind of thing?
Yeah, let me tell you about that. So when I was working with clients all the time, and I was giving them guidance and helping them tap into their intuition and numerology, they would say, how did you get to this place? How did you discover all this? They were basically asking me, who are you? And so I thought, I worked with a lot of women who had had a lot of grief and a lot of heartbreak. And I wanted to show them that you can just go through horrible grief and heartbreak and use it to become more loving and compassionate and do your great work. And so I had to write it down. And so I wrote my story. What I start with is my husband died of cancer when I was 29, and that was a huge spiritual wake-up call for me. Followed the next year by my best girlfriend, Chrissy, dying of leukemia, and Marv and Jane and my dad. So in my 30s, I was at a choice point of waking up or giving up from grief and heartbreak. And as I went into the spiritual study aspect of it, immersing myself in Hinduism, Buddhism, everything, Unity Church, that's how I found my way. That's how I saved my life. And so I wrote a book about that time in my life where grief was about to put me under. And I had a choice point. And what was amazing for me was that writing that book healed me about things I didn't even know still hurt me. And for example, as I was writing it, a scene from my childhood would pop into my consciousness. And so I would think, well, I'm just going to write it down, And as a writer, people all know that oftentimes the only way to write a book is you have to pretend nobody's ever going to read it, and you just let it all pour through you. And so I wrote these really hard, painful situations from my childhood, and especially memories of when Paul died, and I just poured it all out in that book. And it ends, bringing me to a place of open-hearted love and gratitude. And so many of my women clients read that and they go, wow, if you could get through that and be who you are, then I can do it too. And that's why I wrote it.
That's very cool. And I want to make sure, I want to do this here. I want to put this up for you guys that are watching. I know that at least two of you out there that are on the chat are appreciating Sue. This is her website and this is her email. And they're going to leave them up there for a while. So if you want to contact her, please do. You're not going to get a higher recommendation from me for a person to seek out if you're looking to deal with the grief stuff. If you're looking to really find out about your intuition, find out who you are, find out what you're here to do, because it's really, truly, it's not Sue. She's not going to tell you why you're here, but what she's going to do is show you how to get there to figure out what that is. What does it look like?
I'm going to give you the tools to figure it out.
It's all about the tools, darling. It is always about the tools.
That's right.
And one of my things is you can't have enough tools. There's no such thing. Whatever the situation in life is, it's nice to have 2 or 3 things in your toolkit that you can yank out and experiment with to see what works.
Absolutely.
Charmaine wants to know, can she get your books on Amazon?
Oh yeah, they're all on Amazon.
They're all on Amazon.
Yeah.
But if you go, can she buy them on your website?
The website clicks through to Amazon.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you get the most money you're going to get for her.
Yeah. As an author, I figured out that when you have to ship your own books, that pretty quickly becomes
profits.
Yeah. So you just go through Amazon, and self-publishing on Amazon, I hate to plug Amazon here, but you can self-publish your book on Amazon these days, and they print on demand. So there's no cost to you. And that is the greatest blessing for authors. So
you and I may have to talk about that offline. It's really funny. Charmaine asked if you could get the books on Amazon, and Anna answered her because Anna already looked. So, and I can tell and I'll be honest, I read one of the other books and I don't remember which one it was, but I read this I see your dream job, and I studied this with Sue. I am a certified coach of hers from 10 years ago. This is more than about just getting your dream job. You will get an incredible raft of knowledge from this book about just your life, seeking your life, seeking your path, your highest vision, whatever that looks like. I'm going to let you go here in a minute because we're coming to the end of our time here, and I got to take care of my housekeeping. That was like the hour that never was. That
was too quick. All right, we'll do it again.
Is that a promise?
Yes.
Okay. Well, and I'm serious. I want to do maybe some specific shows with you. I want to do a show on intuition with you. I want to, so that people can just get the lessons from you.
That's
because
great.
It's, as amazing as I have always thought you were since we first freaking met, you are more amazing today than you ever were then. And that's part of that thing that you said, that growth thing. That's what that's about. You don't get to 70 without learning a few things here and there.
Oh, that's true.
By the way, I don't think I look half bad for 70. I wish I looked like you at 70. Honey.
Oh no, honey, this is all the lighting here.
Yeah.
It's all the lighting. I promise.
Yeah, sure. I get it. You know what? No matter what happens in this life, you're always going to be cuter than me. So I just got to get used to it. That's just the way that's going to work. I love you from the bottom of my heart.
Love you, my brother.
And we'll see you again very soon. I will let you go here and let me do my housekeeping. Thanks for being on the show with me. Thanks for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you, sweetheart.
All right, Dawn. See you. Bye. All right. There you go. And it's, I got a couple of friends here. Anna and Charmaine have been on the whole show, watching the whole show. They appreciate the hell out of Sue. And I know that it was great information for them. Anybody who's watching this on the replay, I hope you get as much out of it. Boy, Anna and Charmaine, let the world know how much fun this show was. I mean, that's I can't say enough about Sue and how excited I was to have her on the show and how cool it was to have her here and all the knowledge and wisdom that she gave to us. I do want you to know here that my show, The Vibrant Living Hour, is brought to you by HempWorks. There is no higher quality, purer, cleaner CBD and CBD infused products on the planet. If you want to know more, just go to that website that is on the screen right there, hempworks.com/my name, Ken Ludwig, get you the best pricing that way and make sure that you're taken care of. And any help you need, please come and find me. How can you find me? They asked. And the answer is, let's see if this is the right answer. The answer is right there. Go to teamrockitnow@gmail.com. You can find me there. You can also find us at, you can find me right here on the network. You can go to Ken at New Thought Media. That's ntmedia.org. You can try that one. You always reach me at Team Rocket. You can go to my Facebook page. My beloved Lisa and I have a branded Facebook page. It's called Vibrant Aging. You can find us there as well. It's definitely connected to the Vibrant Living Hour as a show. And Charmaine, I'm so glad that you loved this, because it's, I don't know, I did the first 3.5 months of this show by myself, just an hour of me talking. The last 3 weeks, I've had Dr. Sue Morter, Dr. Dana McGrady, and now Sue Frederick on the show. And I love that I have these incredible people in my life who are so smart and bring so much wisdom to the table. And I think Sue Frederick really brings some heart-centered emotional stuff that each and every one of us can relate to on a very personal level. So I think that's very cool. And I'm glad, Charmaine, I just can't appreciate you enough for even just being here today. Thank you so much. And let's see, we'll go back to my other email, my Gmail address. There's the HempWorks sign. There is also, so you are aware of this, New Thought Media Network is a non-profit organization. We're a 501c3. Your donations mean everything to us. Go to ntmedia.org, click on donate, and trust me when I tell you, anything and everything that you give to us, we will be thrilled to have. I want to, as always, I want to thank you for the incredible blessing of your time and your attention. They mean everything to me. I wish you all the love and all the blessings that the universe has to offer. And I hope you'll join me next time. But until then, that's all for now. Namaste.